Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is a return to Blade Runner, the role-playing game. This is going to be a look through Chapter 3, which is Skills and Specialties. This is the third episode in a series of videos that I've been doing, kind of breaking down this game system, and I'm really excited about going into this aspect of the game because now you'll start to see not just what the skills and specialties are for character generation, but also you'll start to see some of the game mechanics that are going to come into play uh, when you're dealing specifically with the application of those skills and how you roll for the resolutions of them. So without further ado, let's jump right into the PDF. So here we have skills and specialties, and I will make this a little bit larger so you can see it. And so here are the core skills. So you have force, hand-to-hand combat, stamina. So those three are tied to your attribute of strength. Then you have firearms, mobility, and stealth tied to agility, medical aid, observation, and tech tied to your intelligence, and then connections, manipulation, and empathy. Those are all tied to your, insight. Those are all tied to your empathy score. And then finally, driving, which is a maneuverability tied, so it's kind of separated. So 12 of the 13 skills are tied to attributes, and then the final one is driving, which is tied to generally maneuverability. And I'll go into more detail with each of these as well. So, rolling the dice. So, there are a total of 13 core skills, which I've already described, and your skill level is going to be based on an A through D, and this changes the die that you roll in order to determine whether or not your skill was successful or the application of your skill. So, in virtually all uh, skill checks, you are going to use the die that is attached to your attribute, which will be on a level of A through D as well, and then your skill. So in many cases, you're going to be rolling two die and then looking for a success on either of the two die rolls. And I will demonstrate this for you when I break out my character sheet, and I will show you how that works as well. So, the meaning of a success. To succeed with your action, you must roll 6 or higher on at least one base die used in the roll. A roll of a 6 or higher is called a success and is marked in the rules with the I symbol. A roll of a 10 or higher on a single die, only possible on the D10 and D12, counts as two successes. Critical success. If you roll two or more eyes with your base dice combined, you have achieved a critical success. You reached your stated goal, but also gain some additional bonus effect depending on the situation and the skill used. In combat, critical success can increase the damage done and inflict critical injuries. For other skills, the effect of a critical success is indicated by the case file or can suggest a bonus effect yourself. The game runner has final say. Some suggestions, though: you act quickly, you act quietly, you help another character, you impress somebody, or you discover something unexpected. Multiple successes. Rolling three or even more eyes generally only matters in combat, where each additional eye will increase the damage done by 1 point. The art of failure. If you roll no eye, something's gone wrong. For some reason, you failed to achieve your goal. Feel free to elaborate on why with the help of the game runner. They might even let a failed roll have further consequences to move the story forward in a dramatic way. Failure must not stop the story completely. Even when you fail, there must be a way forward, perhaps at a cost of additional time, risk, a chin yen, which is money, but still a way. The game runner always has the final say regarding the consequences of a failure in a particular situation. You have one last chance. If you really need to succeed, you can push the roll. Pushing the roll. Your initial skill roll reflects a safe and controlled action. If you fail your initial roll, or if you want additional eyes, you can, or successes, you can lean into the action, giving it everything you've got, pushing yourself to the limit. This is called pushing the roll, and lets you re-roll any base die that doesn't show the result of a 1, all right, which is the unicorn symbol. You can re-roll d10s or d12s showing a single eye or success in order to get more, but it's a risky move. You cannot change back to the previous result. All dice counter after the reroll, or all dice count after the reroll, even the dice you didn't reroll. Damage and stress. Pushing comes with a risk. Each time you push a roll, you immediately suffer 1 point of damage if you rolled for strength or agility, or 1 point of stress if you rolled for intelligence or empathy. For each unicorn, which is a 1 on all the dice, you rolled on your base dice. All dice count, even any unicorns in your initial roll. If this damage or stress makes you broken, this happens after the action is resolved. Read more about damage and stress in Chapter 4. Passive rolls. You can only push skill rolls when you actively perform an action. When passive or unaware, for example, when rolling observation to see if you spot a sneaking enemy, you cannot push those rolls. All right, so only active rolls can be, or active skills can be pushed. Only once. Humans can only push or a skill roll once. If you don't succeed on your second try, you are stuck dealing with the consequences. Replicants can push twice. More on that below. What pushing means. How you push roll plays out in story terms depending on what skill you're using. If you can take the form of a great physical exertion, total mental focus, or emotional strain. Replicants work a little differently from humans when pushing dice rolls in two very important ways. Replicants always suffer stress instead of damage when pushing dice rolls and rolling ones, even when rolling for strength or agility. Replicants can push a roll twice, not just once. All right, so basically they take stress is all mental stress that they take even when exerting themselves physically. The chance of success. So they give you the probabilities here. When you roll a dice, it can be hard to predict the chance of success. The table below shows the chance of success when rolling with all possible combinations of dice. The table or push rolls show the chance when pushing. So when you're initially rolling, let's say if you're just rolling a d6, just a single d6, you have a 17% chance of rolling a 6. Rolling a d8, you have a 38% chance of rolling a 6, 7, or 8. On a D10, you're rolling a 5, 6, 7, or 8. Those are all the chances of success. And remember, on a D10, a 10 is a double success. And then on a D12, you have a 58% chance of rolling a success. So that's everything from 5 and above. And then on a 10, 11, or 12, you're getting a double success on those. Now, when you combine these up, let's say I have an attribute score of a D, which is a D6, and a skill of let's say a C, which is a D8. Well, now I'm combining the D6 with a D8, and I have a 49% chance of success when rolling both of those die. On the push, it just changes the, getting a reroll. Using that same example, right? A D6 and a D8 would be 74%. So my initial chance was a 49%. By pushing, I end up with a 74% chance of being successful. Group roles. When you face a challenge together with other PCs, don't roll dice separately. Instead, you decide who among you is the best suited to take on the challenge. The others may help this person if it is relevant to the situation. If the roll fails, it counts as a failure for all of you. You are not allowed to try once per person. This rule does not apply in combat where each PC acts independently. All right, so if you decide to work as a group, then success and failure is done by the group. Working as a group doesn't mean that each of you are rolling independently for any skill checks other than combat. Disadvantage and advantage, or advantage and disadvantage. Normally, the game runner doesn't assess how difficult an action is. You only roll in the challenge situations, period. But sometimes the game runner might want to underscore the external factors either help or hinder an action. They can then impose an advantage or disadvantage to your rolls. When you have an advantage, you add a third base die to your roll, the same die as your lower die. This means you'll be rolling 3 dice instead of 2, counting all successes if you push the roll normally. You can push the roll normally. When you have a disadvantage, you must remove one of your base die. This means you'll be rolling just 1 die instead of 2. You can push the roll normally. There are situations when advantage and disadvantage are specified by the rules, and sometimes it's specified in the case file. Some specialties can also give you an advantage in certain situations. Cumulative. If you have both an advantage and a disadvantage on the same roll, they cancel each other out. If you have several advantages or disadvantages, one advantage cancels out one disadvantage. Only one. After balancing advantages against disadvantages as per above, you can never roll for more than one advantage or disadvantage. If you have several, it still counts as just a single one. Then we get into key memories. And key memories, once per game session, you can use your key memory for a skill roll. This automatically gives you an advantage on that roll. You need to explain how the memory helps you in that particular situation, but the game runner should be lenient. You can even activate your memory after your initial roll before you push the roll, adding an extra die to the roll. However, if you fail the skill roll despite using your key memory and pushing, you immediately suffer 1 point of stress. Read more about the key memories on page 30. So we'll go back to that um, when the time comes. Don't roll too often. All right. So it's hard to succeed. It's hard to succeed in this game. If you don't stack the odds in your favor, there is a great risk of failure. With that in mind, you should never roll dice unless necessary. Save the dice for dramatic situations or tough challenges. In any other situation, the game runner should simply allow you to perform whatever action you wish. So again, this is a role playing feature, and it's something that both the game runner and the players should really become accustomed to. Is that the only time you should be rolling dice is when the task at hand is either very interesting, or if the outcome could be could be a failure, and so or if the success is really important to achieve. So mundane things, like if I'm saying I'm going to my character is going to walk across the room and open up the refrigerator, I don't need to roll a dexterity check or a strength check or anything of the kind to do a very simple menial task such as that, because there is virtually no chance that you can fail at doing it, and it's not interesting enough for for there to be a die roll on top of that. Opposed rolls. Sometimes rolling a success isn't enough to succeed with your skill roll. In some cases, you must beat your opponent in an opposed roll. To win an opposed roll, you must roll more success than your adversary. Every success rolled in your adversary's elements eliminates one of your successes. Only you, the active player, can push your roll, and you can decide to do so even after your opponent's rolls. Sometimes you and your adversary roll for different skills, sometimes the same. Opposed rolls are used in close combat. They can also be used when you roll manipulation versus insight to influence someone who is actively trying to resist you, or stealth versus observation to move undetected past a vigilant guard. The game runner can also use opposed rolls in any cases when they deem it appropriate, and might even roll for you secretly when you are the passive party in an opposed roll. Ties. If you and your opponent roll the same number of successes, the result is a tie. Typically, your action will fail if you roll a tie as the active party in an opposed roll. But in some cases, like close combat, ties have specific effects. If a tie needs to be broken, re-roll the opposed roll to determine the outcome. And they give examples here. Help from others. Another PC or NPC can help you succeed at a skill roll. This gives you advantage on the roll, but instead of doubling your lowest base die, the helper contributes the base die for that skill level, not the attribute, to your roll. Helping must be declared before you roll your dice. It must also make sense in the story. The individual helping you must be physically present and have the capacity to support your action. The game runner has final say. Then we get to gear, and gear many with many skill rolls you can use gear. Gear can take the form of a weapon in combat, uh, glue medical adhesive to heal a wound, avoid comp machine to detect a replicant. You can find weapons and other gear listed in Chapter 8. In some cases, A piece of gear is needed to be able to perform a particular action at all. In other cases, gear gives you advantage to your skill rolls. So the actual skills. So you have force, which is a strength uh, skill. The Blade Runner is rarely about using brute force, but sometimes you have no other choice. When something heavy or solid blocks your way, you need to lift or push or break it. You roll for force. This skill uh, for any feat of strength. All right. So if you're just trying to force something out, many of these are self-explanatory. So you have force, you have hand-to-hand combat, you have stamina. Those are your three strength skills. You have mobility, which is agility, stealth, and firearms. I'm curious to see with your PKD blaster or another firearm, you take down the enemy from a distance. Use the firearm skill to fire all types of ranged weapons. Read more about ranged combat in Chapter 4. All right, so we will eventually get to that. You have observation, you have tech, and you have medical aid. All of those are intelligence based. You have manipulation, which is empathy based, comes into play for either being manipulated or interrogations or manipulating a group. Negotiating positions becomes a manipulation skill. Insight or empathy um, is what you use to counter manipulation. Driving, maneuverability. So being it a spinner, a ground car, motorcycle, or other vehicle, the driving skill is used to drive. Roll for driving when you attempt to any difficult or dangerous maneuver. And they'll go into more detail how the skill actually works in combat in Chapter 4. So, specialties. So, your rookie character doesn't start with specialties, these only begin with a veteran character. So these are specialties that your character will eventually gain. While attributes and skills give you a broad strokes of your competency, specialties represent specific areas of expertise. Specialties are unique tricks and talents that give you an edge and keep your adversaries guessing. You can start the game with a few specialties unless you are a rookie, and you can learn more by spending promotion points. You can acquire some specialties more than once. And here we have the specialties of bodyguard, cash flow, controlled, counselor, fast reflexes, a gutter rat, hardened, hip flask, insider, interrogator, kickbacks, a killer, married to the job, martial arts, merciful, musician, origami, people person, protected, scientist, smokes, sniper, sycophant, and tough. And I believe we are going into Chapter 4 next, which I will do in the next video. I just wanted to look at smokes because they'll kill you in the end, but once per shift, you can light them up to heal a point of stress. Okay, so that's what it actually does. So you can eliminate a point of stress. I was wondering why would you take that as a specialty? It's basically a once per shift. You can heal a stress point. All right, so that makes sense now. Okay, so let me try to figure this out. Here we go. So I wanted to now take a look at the character that I was developing earlier. And I know I can't really zoom this in too much, but I just wanted to go over, some of the things that I've already, done and fleshed out even further. So prior to this video, you saw that I had assigned my skills and my attributes and everything. So now I've highlighted, you can see this highlight here. I highlighted agility because I'm an inspector and agility is his primary attribute. And I just wanted to keep on reminding myself of, when it comes to doing skill increases, that I'm basically slated to be best at agility, so firearms, mobility, and stealth. You'll also notice that I have highlighted firearms, and that's because an inspector actually typically has bonus skills in firearms, observation, and connections. And the way this works is that I cannot raise any other skill above a D unless these three, firearms, observation, and connections, are at least a C. All right. So everyone starts with a D across the board. So then when you start assigning your skill bonuses at character creation, in order for anything else to reach a C, these at least have to be a C, raised at least once before you could raise something else. So as you can see here, my agility is an A, which means that anytime I'm doing one of those three skills, I'm going to roll a D12, the highest based on my attribute, and then based on the actual skill. So for firearms, anytime I'm firing a weapon, my character is going to roll a d10 and a d12. All right, giving me a lot of additional chances of success, and even a number of chances for double successes. So when my character hits with a firearm, and I have multiple successes, those are going to be a lot of points being done. All right. So just as a really quick, um, demonstration of this, I will grab a D10 and a D12, and I'm going to roll this, right? So I actually rolled a 5 and a 5. So um, a 5 and a 5 is actually, and I made this little chart here to help out. And I would give this chart to players here. So a 5 on a D12 is not a success, and obviously on a D10 is not a success either. So on this first roll, my first shot, I actually missed. All right, but if I roll again, let's see, and try to keep it on there. All right, a 4 and a 2 still failed. All right, so I'm not doing very well here. Let's get something. All right, so an 8 on my D12 is a success, and a 4 on a D10 is not. So I have one success. So I hit the target for one success or 1 point of damage. Now, if I look at my maximum health, let's say my character was getting hit, I have 5 maximum health. So now I've just lost 1 health point. Let's see if I can get an actual really good roll here. So a 10 on a D12 is actually a double success. So now I have 2 successes. So now I'm going to do 2 points of damage with that roll. The 5 still not effective. Now let's say I needed to push this. All right, I'm gonna push I'm gonna push on the D10, and I rolled a 4. So now I'm stuck with that. I still only have the 2 successes, but now I have suffered some stress, and I'm going to lose 1 point of my resolve, all right, because I've been stressed by making that second attempt to get a higher result. The system actually works like really, really well, as long as like I'm using basic dice here, so it doesn't show what the success is. That's why I created this chart here, so that when multiple people are playing at the table, not everyone is going to have the custom dice. And so I created this chart very quickly so that people can players can quickly see whether they were a success or a double success or an absolute failure. Failure across the board, a critical failure, is a one across the board. Doesn't matter which die you're using, and the top of every die is at least a success. So on a d6, you can see a six is a success. On a d8, a six, seven, or eight is a success. On a d10, 6, 7, 8, or 9 is a success, and a 10 is a double success. And then finally on a d12, 6 through 9 is a success, and then 10, 11, and 12 are all double successes. So probably the best that you can do is 4 successes, all right, which with a weapon, you're going to dish out 4 points of damage with that. It will probably, it will probably kill somebody with like the average person with a single shot, which is really quite impressive for this game system. And when I get into combat, some weapons do more than just 1 point per success as well. So they become even more lethal than that. So overall, I mean, I really like the system. The system is, it's got various components that you can use as far as making your character more unique and increasing their ability to succeed at various tasks. So not every inspector is going to be like a cookie cutter, copy of other inspectors, because I could choose to put raise attributes in different areas. Even at the start, I got the bonuses of adding to my various attributes, where I increased my attribute of strength to a B, from a D. I increased my agility to an A. I increased my intelligence to a B. And I left my empathy at the base level of C. For my skills, I've increased my stamina by choice from a D to a C. I increased my firearms from a D to a B, my mobility from a D to a C. I left my stealth at D. For my intelligence scores, I increased just my observation from a D to a C, to a B. All right, so going from a D6 to a D10 on that, because observation was one of my primary skills for an investigator. And then finally, under empathy, I increased my connections from a D to a B, um, realizing not only is connections one of my primary skills as an inspector, but I just thought I have to rely on my connections within the police department, or maybe street connections and such. And so I further increased that beyond just going from a D to a C. And all of these little tweaks you can make in making your character much more unique. I also projected forward to taking hardened, which will give me +1 resolve. That's overall a +1 resolve to my character's. So that will be his specialty. Is that once he becomes a veteran, he will be hardened, and so that's where I was projecting to pick up that additional bonus to my abilities and such. So really enjoying this system and how it comes together. It still is a fairly simple system. I mean, you're just rolling to see whether you're effective based on your attribute and your skill level, and the number of successes is going to translate to to improvements in what you're looking to do. So multiple successes means that you're just that much better at what you've just attempted to do, and in combat, it's a much more simpler system as well. Um, you can take a number of wound hits, or you can dish out a number of wound points based on the number of successes that you had modified by the weapon type. But I'll go into much more detail in the next video on that. So as always, thank you for joining. I hope you liked this video. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hit that alert bell so that you get new uploads. As you can see, I've been pretty much skipping the weekends on videos. I usually do a lot of other things on the weekends, including sitting in on other people's live streams and such. So I was just yesterday, or actually Sunday, on the Legion of Myths live stream, where we were talking about various topics. So yeah, you can always look for me on the weekends to be involved in other people's channels. And in most cases, these are channels that my channel actually features. So I really encourage you to go to the featured channels on my channel, so that you can see what other people are doing as well. And as always, I welcome you to come in here, leave questions and comments in the comments section. Share the videos if you're if you want to share these out to others. I really welcome that, because that really does expose the channel to a lot more people. Excuse me. And also, I'm going to pitch this. Uh, there is a new membership feature, for my channel, where you can join, and for a small monthly fee, you will gain access to a lot of different features on the channel, especially when I'm doing live streams and such. You will have access to having special icons and emojis at the very lowest level, plus shout outs and access to my Discord channel, uh, and the special membership areas of my Discord channel. And then as you go up in the various levels, you will gain more and more access, whether it be special invites to my gaming. So I might throw up a monthly game of members only and do a one shot for members only, and you will of course have access to those one shots as well. And at the very highest level, you will actually be able to request of me to run games if I have them, and do a session, either to demonstrate a game to you, or to just run one shots of game systems that you'd like to play in. So, again, that's a brand new membership. I just started that on December 1st, I believe. And so you are certainly welcome to join that. I really appreciate that. And everything raised by that is going to be turned right back into the channel, as far as buying products and then showing off those products. As you can see, I pick up a lot of new game materials and everything, and the more support that the channel has, the larger that the channel grows, the more input that that the subscribers will have in directing where this channel goes, and looking at specific games that you bring up, and even running games that you request. So have a great day. Look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. I have some convention news coming up in the next couple of months. So my next planned on convention is going to be Rising Phoenix in April, on April 21st through the 23rd. I am at least slated for one session of running Blade Runner, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I haven't decided on the other games that I might run. Maybe I'll just run one and play in the rest. I haven't really sorted out what I'm looking to do as far as as actually running games as opposed to playing games at Rising Phoenix. It is in Milford, Massachusetts, and I did a video, did the video previous to this where I give all the details, but I will certainly remind you of those upcoming events in future videos as well. So again, thanks for joining. Have a great afternoon. Take care.